Hello, and welcome back to the multi-part series Killer Spies, the Dark Side of Espionage. In this video, we will be unraveling the case of Alexander Litvinenko, a former Russian Federal Security Service officer who immigrated to England and was eventually assassinated by some of the same people he worked with. I'm Neil Bison, the director of Global Intelligence Knowledge Network and a former intelligence officer with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. This video, along with others in this series, will focus on the history, tradecraft, and techniques used by intelligence agencies to conduct clandestine operations that result in murder. So without further delay, let's get started and dive into the strange case of the poisoning of Alexander Litvinenko. The story starts in late 1998, when Litvinenko was still an officer of the FSB and living in Russia. During this time, Litvinenko publicly accused his superiors of ordering the assassination of a Russian oligarch, Boris Berezovsky. In response to his accusations against the Russian intelligence agency, Litvinenko was arrested, released, and rearrested twice more until he eventually fled to London, England, where he was granted asylum. After starting a career as a journalist and working as a consultant for the British Intelligence Service, he eventually became a British citizen. Litvinenko's journalistic career focused on his staunch criticism of Russian President Vladimir Putin, where he publicly accused Putin of orchestrating the assassination of Russian journalist Anna Politkovskaya in 2006. Putin was the head of the FSB, formerly the KGB, prior to becoming the president of Russia. On November 1st, 2006, Litvinenko was poisoned by what he believed to be thallium. Thallium is a drug that was commonly used by Russian intelligence for assassinations at that time. However, in a strange twist of events, Litvinenko was poisoned by something much deadlier, both to him and potentially to the citizens of the UK. In October 2006, prior to being admitted to the hospital for this unknown ailment, Litvinenko was visited in London by former Russian Federal Protective Services officer Andrei Negovoy and former KGB agent Dmitry Koptin. The three men met in a Piccadilly Square restaurant. It was here that Negovoy and Koptin initially attempted to poison Litvinenko with the highly radioactive isotope polonium-210. The first attempt failed. That didn't keep them from trying again. Reasons surrounding the meetings between Litvinenko and the two former members of Russian intelligence services are up for speculation. But from the perspective of a former intelligence officer, I believe it likely that Litvinenko was either under the impression that these men were giving him information to pass on to British intelligence, or wanted to defect themselves and look to Litvinenko for help. In hindsight, these were obvious ploys by Negovoy and Koptin to get close to Litvinenko and kill him. Negovoy and Koptin met Litvinenko the second time on November 1st, 2006, in the lobby of a London hotel, where they offered Litvinenko a cup of tea laced with the radioactive isotope. 3 weeks later, after immense suffering, Litvinenko eventually died in a London hospital. Doctors had no idea what had been killing Litvinenko until a positive test conducted by the British Atomic Weapons Establishment identified the polonium-210 in one of his urine samples. Given the incredibly high radiation level of the polonium, Scotland Yard detectives were able to use radiation detection equipment to trace a path that coincided with the whereabouts and movements of Negovoy and Koptin. Despite the evidence presented, the Russian government dismissed the allegations of Litvinenko's poisoning by the former Russian intelligence service agents. So what can we learn from the Litvinenko assassination regarding the tradecraft used by Negovoy and Koptin? Although the poisoning of Litvinenko was initially a mystery to both doctors and police alike, the eventual discovery of polonium-210 was the Russian intelligence agents' undoing. The murder weapon used was so highly radioactive that it provided a trail of contaminated breadcrumbs for Scotland Yard to follow all the way back to Russia and easily identify the culprits. Regardless of any tradecraft that Negovoy and Koptin employed during their time in London, it was all for naught once the method of murder was discovered. However, if it wasn't for the test conducted by the British Atomic Weapons Establishment, Litvinenko's death may have gone unsolved. With this knowledge now cemented into the archives of history, the Russian intelligence community would learn to change their tactics for future wet-work operations, as we will see in upcoming episodes of Killer Spies, the Dark Side of Espionage. Thank you for joining me on this first step in the journey down the shadowy corridors of intelligence-driven assassinations. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and share. If you find the world of intelligence to be as intriguing as I do, go to www.globalintelligenceknowledgenetwork.com for more regularly uploaded content.